Right, welcome along to another episode of Scottish Football Matters with myself, Murray, and my good friend Lorenzo.
Hi.
How you doing? Basically, tonight we're going to have a little chat about the weekend's fixtures there, and we'll touch on the Scottish Cup fourth round draw, which threw up some interesting ties. We'll have a little chat on the Martin O'Neill extension, and then we'll preview the midweek round of fixtures because there's 5 games on
Full
Wednesday.
card?
Yeah, well, I think it's just 5. I think
Was it?
Hibs and
Was it?
Livingston played the other week.
Right.
So, yeah, if we review the weekend, I think the best place to start is Saturday. I think start with Dundee against St Mirren. In my opinion, I thought Dundee were they were worthy winners in terms of the way they took their chances. But I actually thought every game this weekend was quite close. I mean, you can see that from the results, but I think this is the only game that had more than a 1 goal margin. But fair play, I thought Dundee were quite clinical, St Mirren were quite wasteful. But I thought the goal of the weekend was the Dundee third goal. I thought it was a lovely finish. I
That was
thought,
the one into the top corner, is that right? He curled it in?
it's a bent
It's
it
a good,
last
yeah,
5 minutes just to see it game through.
that was a
But I
nice goal.
thought, yeah, Dundee worthy winners. Can't really say much more. There wasn't really any massive talking points, but fair play to Dundee. Good win for Stephen Presley.
Yep. As I say, I was expecting a Mirren win, if I'm honest. I didn't expect Dundee to win, but you can say fair play to them. They played well and they certainly merited their victory.
Yep.
Yep.
If we talk about the Saturday afternoon one, Motherwell against Hearts, it's very similar to a game I'm going to talk about later, Rangers Falkirk, but I just thought it was a bit drab.
hmm
Not a lot happening. Do you know what it felt like? To me, it felt like the sort of game you get at the end of December after you've played too many games.
Yeah.
It was a bit
Yep.
weird that it's coming at this end of November, so I don't know if there's something in that, but it just felt really flat, really lacking in
hmm
any real chances.
Yep.
But I think at the end of the day, I think both sides will take a point. Um,
Um, I, I obviously I thought Hearts might have done that, might have won it the game, but
mm,
glad I'm glad in the end that they didn't. If you watch the game, you'll see that Motherwell had the ball in the net 2 times.
yeah, so, miles offside the second one, I think it
Second
was.
one, first one was a
Uh,
bit kind of touch
close,
and go, I think.
but, but I think they were offsides, and I think you need to trust the lines, don't you? And but I thought
Yeah.
the Motherwell created the better stuff,
Aye, I would
but
say
I
Motherwell were the
thought,
better side. Motherwell
yeah,
were the better side.
but that wasn't to say that Hearts didn't have their moments. But I think a draw was probably a fair result.
I would say so. Yep.
Yeah, if we move on to the Saturday evening one, I think Kilmarnock Dundee United. I mean, the first half was a kind of tale of two penalties, wasn't it? I mean, you had the penalty miss, which actually I think is a really good save. I think
hmm
you've got to give the keeper credit. I think the keeper makes a really good save.
Yep.
Then Kilmarnock obviously get their penalty and score the rebound. The keeper's
Yep.
so unlucky.
That way
He's
he
really
did.
unlucky.
Yep.
Makes a good save, and the ball spins just in a way that he can't quite get to.
Just a shame.
But fair play to Bruce Anderson, because that's what any good striker should do, is follow it up. Then obviously Craig Sibbald scores a decent equaliser. But I thought if any side were going to win it, it'd be Kilmarnock. I thought they played the better stuff.
hmm
But I do think that was the sort of sign of a team that's just going through a bit of lack of confidence. Because I
Yep.
think if that's a Kilmarnock on a winning run, I think they take care of Dundee United in that game.
hmm
Because they certainly created the chances to take care of them, but you could tell there's a real lack of confidence at the top end of the pitch anyway. But I think, again, because of the runs both teams have been on, I think they'll both take a point.
Yep. I think Dundee United for me, they're really up and down this season. You don't know
Mm.
what team you're going to get with Dundee United each week when they come out. One week you'll get them,
No,
they'll be on fire. Another week they come out, they don't turn up.
yeah,
They need to get a bit of consistency, and they've not got that at the minute.
I think, and I know this is going to sound really harsh, but I think it's difficult for Dundee United because I think there's a real lack of Scottish identity in the squad. I think if you take away
hmm
Sibbald, it's
Yeah.
quite a it's quite a multicultural lineup, shall we say? And
Hmm.
sometimes when you're in that sort of battle, I think you maybe need, sometimes those sort of homegrown local players to sort of push you through and push you over the line. And
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why we're seeing a bit more of the Jekyll and Hyde, as we've said about them, is maybe they just don't have maybe enough characters. And they don't even know it need to be
Hmm.
homegrown, but look at like Gogic at St Mirren. St Mirren never look Jekyll and Hyde. They don't always win. Do you know what I mean?
No.
But you know what you're getting with St Mirren because the players will just work hard. They don't get the results all the time, but you know what they're getting. With the likes
Hmm.
of Gogic and, to be honest, that whole team, even Mandron, who's been about Scottish football for years. I know he's French, but you sometimes just need a real, just a bit of
Hmm.
just a bit more of a Scottish football knowledge, and I just think they lack that.
Yeah.
But
But the
fair
likes of
play to
Gogic,
Kilmarnock.
Gogic, he's been about quite a lot of clubs in Scotland. I know.
Oh,
Did he play for Dundee United, or am I mixing him up with somebody else? Maybe. I
oh
know he's
God.
played for quite a few clubs.
Played for Hibs, played for St Mirren. I'd
Hamilton
need to
Accies, I'm sure
double
he played
check
for
it.
Hamilton Accies
Aye,
as well. Yeah.
I remember him there.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
no, I think on that game though, I thought it was a fair draw. If we move
Yeah.
on to Sunday, we'll start with the early kick-off, obviously. Hibs Celtic.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a difficult one for me, right? Because I know it might sound harsh because Celtic won the game, but I thought both sides were pretty poor. Celtic
Yeah.
up
And the
until the
Celtic were never
goal,
very good.
I thought Celtic were terrible, and I thought Hibs were the only side that looked like they were going to do anything.
Hmm.
Then they make an absolute howler of a goalkeeping error,
Goalkeeper.
and
Yeah.
then Celtic score a really good second goal. I'll give them credit on that. Engels is really brave,
Hmm.
and I think up until half time, I thought Celtic could have maybe got a third,
Yep.
but in
Probably
the
could have.
second
Probably
half,
should have.
I thought Celtic were terrible. Again, they just do this.
Hmm.
They seem to play for wee bursts and then
20
stop
minutes.
playing, and then and I know like a lot of people will go, oh, they won at Hibs, that's a great result, and I know Rangers won there recently, but and it is a tough place to go, but
Yeah.
it didn't feel like a vintage Celtic performance. But I suppose you'll take that
Not at
any
all.
day of the week with a win. But and we will talk about the Hibs penalty because I think it's a terrible decision, but it was coming though, if you know what I mean. That
Hmm.
goal,
Yeah.
we will get into the actual Hibs penalty, but I just felt in general analysis of the match was that Hibs were actually unfortunate not to get a point based on the
Yeah.
patterns of play, but they were just they're a bit toothless up front.
Mm.
I think even though they've got quality players like Boyle and Bowie, they seem to lack a real cutting edge for me in the
Hmm.
final third. And I actually think, is that not their first goal against Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, or Motherwell or something like that this season?
I
Something
think
crazy
so.
like that out of the
Yeah.
top
Like,
teams.
well, we drew nothing each on them
Um,
at Celtic Park early in the season, September.
and they
So
lost
yeah.
1-0 to Rangers and 1-0 to Hearts. And
Hmm.
I think they lost 2-0 to Motherwell the other day, didn't they? So
Yeah.
I can see they are a good team, and I think David Gray's a good manager, but there's something missing at that top end
Yeah.
for me.
The
But
second,
if we talk, sorry, on you
well,
go.
the second goal that we got when Engels was brave,
Mhm.
I actually thought that was a red card and not a yellow because I thought it was really
See,
dangerous.
it's a difficult one, right? Because obviously we went through this with the cup final and how
Mm.
it's dangerous to endanger. It's definitely endangering the safety of the opponent. But there's a big difference in the rules and whether I agree with them or not. If you make a genuine attempt for the ball,
Mhm.
there's a difference in terms of it has to be out of control. And I don't think it was out of control because I do think he tries to play the ball. So I think
Yeah.
by the letter of the law, it's probably not a red card, but I do think it's a really grey area. I'll be honest, because I can't see how that endangers the safety. Well, put it this way, right? Does that endanger the safety of the player less than Asgard kicking Ralston in the
Ralston.
tummy? I
No,
would say
I'd say
it
they're similar
endangers him more
because it's his
because
head
he's kicked him in the head, right?
ahead.
But
Aye.
by the letter of the law, because you would say, and by the way, I also think Asgard did make a genuine attempt for the ball because he's playing some stupid keepy uppy thing on that day. But I don't know. I don't know with the rules on this one. The rules seem to state that it's a yellow card, but I
Mhm.
don't know that I like that because I do
No.
think that sometimes a boot's really high. And I remember one last year, maybe not last year, maybe 2 years ago, where a St Mirren player went in on Joe Hart, did he not? And
Joe Hart get kicked in the head. That's right,
yeah,
and he ended up getting
and
stitches.
but he did get a red card for that one. And I remember saying that one was wrong because he actually gets a toe on the ball and
But Joe
follows through onto Hart.
Joe
Where
Hart gets the ball away, doesn't he? Gets the ball away. He
yeah,
palms it
gets
away.
but the player gets a touch on the ball as well, and that
Right.
was the only difference for me because I felt like if he hadn't got the ball and he'd hit Joe Hart in the head straight away, I said, "Oh, it's a definite red."
Hmm.
But they went to VAR and gave him a red, and I was like, "Well, he got the ball, and if there's going to be some bit of contact in football, and there's going to be follow throughs." But then I could see why they said it endangered. But again, I don't see the consistency there. If that
Yeah.
endangered Joe Hart, how did that not endanger
Engels.
um, Engels? But then some people will say Engels dipped his head down to win a header, and I'm like, well, I can
But
see
what
that
else?
as well. But then
He's not
is
going to be able to
Egan?
score it with his foot, is he?
Do you know what the thing is? It is a grey area. That's all I'd
Yeah.
say with that one. And
Hmm.
I don't know how I feel about whether it should be a red or yellow because I do think the boys made a genuine attempt to kick the ball, and
Nah, he,
Engels has
he
been brave.
has.
His head in
But
there first and headed the
yeah.
ball. Sometimes I think there's just football collisions, and I think
Hmm.
we should have more of them. Just be yellows, but I do agree that it's massively inconsistent with other decisions. But if we talk about the penalty, because I think
Yeah.
this is where right, I've got a different one on this one because I don't think it's a penalty, right?
Neither do I.
Because I don't think that Scales, because we can't use this whole deliberate because it doesn't
So,
matter anymore.
what does it? Did it hit his hand first, then his shoulder, or his shoulder, then his hand? I mean, this is the debate that's
Shoulder
been
then
going on.
hand, shoulder then hand. I felt, but
Well, if it hits
I
his hand
just
first and then his shoulder, it's a penalty. No, if it hits his shoulder first, then his
oh,
hand.
I thought it sort of come off the shoulder then bounced down at the hand. But either way, the only reason I can see a penalty given right is because whatever order it comes off his hand and it's going to Bashiri, right, who could
Hmm.
tap it into the net. But you could say that about anything. You could say that about
No,
any cross that hits a hand on the way. Well, it
I'm
could go
pretty
to
sure
somebody.
there's loads of crosses going to the box
And
that hit parts of the body, and they don't get.
I,
Well, they will get
I don't.
checked, but it won't get.
I don't know about. I don't think it's a
Mm.
penalty. But at
No,
the same
me
time,
either.
I can make an argument that it's not like the one where Ralston in the cup final dives out of control and it hits his hand accidentally. I don't think Scales has done anything wrong.
No.
That's whereas I could understand that Ralston was, I don't want to say stupid, but he was out of control. He put his body in a position where it could hit his hand. I
Hmm.
don't think that Scales does anything wrong with his body. He doesn't
No.
move his arm towards the ball. He stays perfectly still.
And his arms aren't in
It,
an unnatural position
nah,
either.
I don't like it as a
No.
penalty, and I don't know. I think that again, like the kicking of the head stuff, it's a massively grey area that
And
we need to sort out, and I think we need to get it back to being a deliberate handball.
it's too inconsistent.
Yep. But in general, though, I did think that Hibs were better in the second half and probably merited a point based on the balance of play, but didn't really. I think Schmeichel makes a good save late on. I think from Cadden, which
About
I think
five
in
minutes to go.
another day that goes in and it's two each. And I don't think any Celtic fan would have complained if Hibs had got a point. But this is the
Wouldn't have
thing,
been
Martin.
wouldn't
Has
have, wouldn't
got
have been
Celtic.
happy, mind you, but wouldn't have
Yeah,
been happy. But
they've
they had
got
to have just
Celtic
accept it.
winning. Martin got Celtic winning despite the fact that you haven't particularly played well.
No, but at the end of the
Aside
day,
from maybe I think it was Kilmarnock or Falkirk he's played quite well at home against.
mhm,
But aside for that, he's been. But winning's all that matters.
that's what Martin O'Neill said. It's all about winning football
Mm,
matches. It doesn't matter.
yeah. But as a Celtic fan, if I was a Celtic fan, I'd be quite worried that when the new manager comes in, that he might not get that same
That's what I'm worried about.
attitude and application of the player. Because I'll give you a good
Mhm.
example, right? Rio Hitati looks a different player under Martin O'Neill, whereas under Brendan Rodgers he looked disinterested, hopeless. What if he goes back to that Celtic midfield falls apart again the way it was at the start of the season, and
Mhm.
um, I just I think Celtic aren't playing well enough to blow teams away right now, and
Yeah.
I think that um, it could be a concern that if a new manager comes in, they might not actually get a bounce because normally when a new manager takes over, it's because the results are poor. But
Yeah.
these results are actually quite good. You're
Mhm.
on a good run,
Yeah.
and you're getting a new manager coming, so it's quite a strange one.
It's
I
just a
actually think
shame.
it could go the other way. It could be a new manager.
Mhm.
It could actually impact if he's trying to implement a style.
The three four
Um,
three as well.
I think you could find yourself being a bit not with the way Man United were when Amarin came in and it was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
I would see if Martin O'Neill was that wee bit younger. Keep him. I know he's
Yeah.
getting on a bit, but I'd love to keep him. But he's
Yep.
getting on a bit.
If we talk about the other two Sunday games, Rangers Falkirk, I think pretty similar to the Motherwell Hearts game. That
Mm-hmm.
it felt like a game where both teams had played a lot of football. I can give Rangers the excuse that they played Thursday, but I don't really think that's an excuse because
No,
Aberdeen and Celtic played Thursday and came back and won. Um,
but Rangers were at home
but
as
there
well.
was,
Celtic had to travel, so
but there was just a real lethargy about the whole game, which I thought wouldn't be there because of obviously the sackings last week. I thought the
mm-hmm.
crowd would have been more on point, but it felt like that. You know how sometimes you get games where it's near Christmas and fans can't really be bothered going and it's cold and that.
Well,
Sometimes you get a wee bit like that.
but
It
there was a
felt like
game.
that, but it
Was
shouldn't.
was it last
And
season? I'm pretty sure last season we played. Was it Boxing Day? We played Dundee United and we drew nothing each with them, and it was a really drab game. Celtic Dundee United at
mm,
Tannadice. It was a horrible
but
game.
that's you kind of let them away with that though at that Christmas period. But that for me, on the back of and Danny Rowe made a really good point that on the back of 4 wins in the league,
Yep.
if the players don't have confidence now, they're not going to get confidence. So I think Danny Rowe's pretty much written off a good few of these players. Um,
Do you
but
think?
I'm not
Sorry.
going to judge Danny Rowe till the end of the season
Do you do you
based on
do you
the
think?
result.
Sorry. Do you think that? For butting in there. Sorry. Do
Yeah.
you think that the loan players that you've got at the minute? Do you think any of them will be terminated in January? Can
Yes.
you do? But can he
Chiga.
do it? Well, he won't terminate them all, will he?
No, I'd keep
No.
Magoma. Magoma looks fine.
Right.
Uh,
But
there's an argument you could terminate Max Aarons because he hasn't really added anything. I wouldn't be. I
Rothwell.
mean, Ruffles are permanent, so
Oh,
he
is he?
needs to
I
be
thought he was
sold.
on loan. All
No,
right.
Rothwell needs to be sold. I think there's an argument a few players might need to go out on loan. Like I think Chamiti could do with a loan.
Mhm.
And I think there's a few that I would still give time. Asgard's he's just polarising. It's difficult because you can see there's a player there, but I think he's had enough chances to show, and he's not done anything yet.
Would you loan him?
And Ant-Man, I do think deserves to stay because I think there's something there that I can see. I've never looked at Ant-Man and thought he isn't trying, whereas
Hmm.
I have done that with Asgard. I've looked at him and go, well, you're just floating about. And tens tend to do that. They kind of like they'll float about the pitch and go. They can hide, whereas
Hmm.
a winger can't really hide. You get the ball out and he tries, and it isn't working for him, right? But you can see with Ant Man that you go, if he gets a bit of confidence, if he just gets a goal or an
Hmm.
assist, you could see him kind of going through the levels. Because I don't think he can get 16 assists in the Eredivisie and be a bad player. I don't think he can play for Finland
No.
and be a bad player. I just think that wingers and confidence and whatnot, I think it's just we need to get it out of him. But the whole squad's a mess. It really is. It's the most imbalanced squad I've ever seen. But onto the game, because I think we could spend about 8 podcasts talking about Rangers and how dismal the squad is. But I think onto the game, I think a draw was a fair result. But I have to say, Bain does pull off a really good save for Gassama because that's kind of what's been happening. The Rangers have kind of just found a way to win these games the last few weeks under
Yeah.
Danny Rowe, and it could have happened yesterday. You couldn't have really begrudged Rangers a win because they maybe did have a bit more of the play, but they never really created enough at that top
Mhm.
end, and it just looks like Danny Rowe's really searching for like just. I think he's really. It's almost like he's trying to try every player that he can just so he
Well,
can see what he can
that's what
do.
happens when a new manager comes in, isn't it?
But I think he's making his mind up about a good feeling. But it's really annoying that he hasn't seemed to be trying enough of Cameron because I'd be playing Lyle Cameron every week because I know what I'm going to get from him. He's going
Hmm.
to run, he's going to work hard, and I'm not seeing that for Asgard.
Well,
So,
if Lyle Cameron doesn't get a game, then he'll probably want to go on loan or go away.
I mean, I would be putting him in the team, especially up at Tannadice on
Hmm.
Wednesday because he's a Dundee lad, right? So he hates. You'll be brought up to not like Dundee United. That's fair dues, right? That's just you either support one side of the city, don't you?
Will
It'd be the
Danny Rowe
same
be
if you had
aware of that?
Oh, it should be. And in the end of the day, this boy's scored lots of goals against Dundee United. He's kind of been a wee thorn in their side.
Hmm.
I just think get him in a team. And I know there's an argument that if you play him, Raskin, and Barron, it's too small a midfield, but I'll pack the rest of your team big. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sometimes you need
Aye.
to have the midfield that's going to work hardest. I don't think the Celtic midfield's particularly physical, apart from maybe Engels. When you look
Aye.
at it, but I don't think Celtic would not play McCowan, Hattati, and McGregor, would they? Because they're too small. You'd
Yep.
play them because you know what you're going to get.
Hmm.
So I think we'll leave the Rangers game there. I thought Falkirk actually created some decent stuff late on as well. So I
Uh-huh.
don't want to be too, but I don't think they done enough to win the game either. I think they were a bit
I
flat as well. I
predicted.
mean, John McGinn said that
Hmm,
he didn't think they were very good.
I
he
predicted
said
that. I predicted a
no,
draw.
he said
The
no, he
Rangers game.
said
So
one each.
I did say a draw.
But it did. It was one of those games that I think quite early on in the first half, it felt like it was going to be a 0-0. It was just one of those days where you just go, or if
Nothing's
it
going
was
to
going to
happen
be a
here.
goal, it was going to be like a big deflection or a penalty or just like a big mistake, like a goalkeeper flying it in the net type thing. And yeah, I think the draw was a fair result. And Falkirk are comfortably top 16 this year.
I would say so.
Um, the last game would be Aberdeen at Livingston, and I've got to admit, I thought this was an absolute robbery. I thought not any bad decisions or anything like that,
The
just
the goal was all right. There
Livingston
was nothing
did.
wrong with the goal.
No, I know, but Livingston were just by far the better side, by far the most creative side. But you can tell there's a reason why they've got 8 points.
Yep.
There's not enough at that top end of the pitch. And if you look at, put it this way, right, because I can compare them to Falkirk because they just come up. If that was Falkirk at home to Aberdeen, Falkirk would have scored 3 or 4 in that first half.
Yep.
If we're just being totally honest, there's a cutting edge there, whereas there just
Hmm.
isn't with Livingston. It's a shame because their play merited more, but
Hmm.
you can't argue that Aberdeen stayed in the game and found a way to win, and that's only going to make. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're now not that far off the top six, which just shows you how crazy this league is.
It is
And
mental. Yeah, it's a
teams
bit
like
weird.
St Mirren are drifting right down the table.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I think it's midweek card will be interesting because I think you'll see a lots of topsy turvy
Hmm.
flipping of games. But I think if we move on to the just briefly talk about the Scottish Cup draw,
Yeah.
what did you think of it? I'll start with what I thought. I thought there was a few good all Premiership ties. Hearts Falkirk
Yeah.
jumped out. Um, I think Livingston St Mirren jumped out as well.
Hmm.
But the glamour, the good ties for me were I thought Dunfermline Hibs is an interesting one. I
Aye,
thought
that'll be a
Neil Lennon
good one.
against his old side. I think it wouldn't have been interesting if it was at Hibs because I think Hibs would have comfortably won at Easter Road. But going to East End Park, that's a terrible, horrible wee ground to go, and
It is.
Lennon will have them right up for it. And with it being it's in January, isn't it?
Hmm.
You wouldn't be surprised if Lennon gets in a couple of bodies to maybe try and get a bit more experience in that squad because they've got some good players. Dunfermline.
Yeah.
The boy is it Andy Todd. He looks a really, really good player.
Hmm.
But I think that was an interesting one. I think obviously the Rangers was just nothing to talk about really. Rangers Annan's just a bog standard game. But
Hmm.
Auckland like Talbot Celtic's
Celtic.
it's a glamour tie
Aye,
because
for aye.
it's kind of junior team. And by the way, it wouldn't be a good tie if it was at Celtic Park, but it
No,
is a
but it
good
can't
tie
take it.
because it's down there.
It'll have to take place somewhere like Rugby Park or something like that. You can't have it down there.
Well, you can if they can play their games
But
wherever they
how
want.
many fans are going to be allowed in, like Celtic fans, if they want to go to it?
Who cares?
About
There's a
10?
couple hundred. No, he's
Aye, but
still got a few hundred.
there you right. But
I don't know. I think sometimes that's the glamour of the cup, though, is that you do need to go. I mean, you go to these mental stadiums.
sometimes they switch it. I mean,
I hope they
if it,
don't know because
no, but
then it
if they
doesn't feel
switch it,
like a
then
home game.
do they not get more money if they switch it?
Yeah, but it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about just giving yourself the best opportunity
I
to
know, but
progress.
in the grand scheme, I think Celtic should be comfortable against Auckland like Talbot. They should be, but
Should. But I mean, I seen Rangers play Fraserburgh last year, and they should have been comfortable. They did win 6-0, but for a great deal of that game, it was 1-0 and scrappy.
mhm.
And then they found a way. But no, I thought another tie was obviously the place over by Falkirk. Is it? Camelin, Camelin.
Camelin.
They got Elgin at home. I thought that was a good one, but then it's a tricky one as well because there's no
Lithgow
glamour.
Rose get through to the next round as well, so they did. I remember seeing
No,
that
they
they
get.
be
Did they not
did they
get beat
oh they
at
get
Queen's
beat.
Park?
They get beat. I
Uh,
thought Queen's Park they were winning. I remember that.
they
I
were.
thought they won. But they were winning.
But, I'm just trying to bring up if there's any other ties. There was a couple other. I mean, Aberdeen Wraith. Uh, uh, Airdrie and
Motherwell
Arbroath's
Ross
a good.
County.
Airdrie Arbroath's a good one because you're going to get a championship side in.
Hmm.
I think Dundee United there. I think again, see if that was at Somerset, I'd give you more of a chance.
Hmm.
Kelty against Cove Rangers. I mean, one of them's going to the last 16. You know, that's
And
mental, isn't it?
you've got Spartans
But Cove
against.
deserve that because Cove beat St Johnson, didn't they?
I think so. But who's that? Spartans against
Oh, it's
Tramont.
Trenant or Inverness.
Trennant or Inverness,
Uh,
right? I'll be Inverness,
yeah.
I'd imagine. I don't think
Then
anyone
you've
will beat
got
them.
Stenhousemuir against Greenock Morton. There's good ties in there, and
There could be
what's good
upsets.
about it is you're going to see a few first division, second division teams, championship, first division, whatever. You're going to see them in the last 16, and that's what you want. You just want to be able to see a few kind of glamour ties and a bit of fun in it, because that I'd say it's one of the best days in the Scottish card. I think we should go back to the olden days where all of them kick off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and we
But
shouldn't televise them. I
I
know,
agree with you, but it won't
but they
happen.
won't. No, it won't
No.
because they want Premier Sports want
Hmm.
Celtic Auchinleck. They'll want Rangers Annan. They'll also want Hearts against Falkirk. BBC will get their
Your
pick of a
BBC will
game or
get a
two.
game. Yep.
And but but ideally though, I loved that. I mean, I remember being a wee guy, and like it was in January after Christmas, and you'd get that Scottish Cup weekend, and you were just checking. I remember teletext, CFAX, you know what I mean, and checking teletext for all the scores coming through, and it was just a mental game, and then waiting up for those sports scene highlights because you were just getting to see all the games and all the goals. I don't know.
Aye.
I just think it'd be good if we brought a bit of that back, but if we quickly move on to obviously the Celtic manager stuff, I'll let you kind of take this. But what do you think of Martin O'Neill kind of continuing? And
Well, I'm
you
quite
say it's
happy.
just Dundee, but it
Hmm.
could
I'm
also be
quite
Hearts. I don't know.
I'm quite happy for the simple reason that he's got his winning, and if you if you bring that other guy in at this point, that could upset the apple cart. I mean, as you said earlier, you normally bring a guy in if the team's losing matches, but
Yeah,
on a run now where we've got our momentum going, and I don't really want to see that broke up, but it will
yeah.
be broke up because he will go, and that guy will come in. Wilfried Nancy will come in. So
And I'll tell you something that's very similar to this. You might remember when Van Bronckhorst came in at Rangers. We were 7 points clear. It was a very weird time to be bringing in a manager. And
hmm
I think it took time for him, because I still think he's a good manager and a really good guy, but it took him time to adapt to Scottish football. And we found ourselves drawn with like St Johnstone's and St Mirren's and
aye,
games that Gerrard was taking care of because he had his 3 years in Scotland and figured
hmm
out how to win those games 2-1 without playing well. And
yeah,
Martin, he was got that down to a T, you know. And you do worry that, from a Celtic point of view, that you might find yourselves getting back in the title race and probably going ahead next week,
yep,
but you might
hmm
find yourself slipping back behind again because you're gonna. There's gonna be a teething period, I think.
there always is, but I just hope
But
it's not too bad. But it's
yeah,
him with his
but
formation as well. We've not got the players at the minute for that 3-4-3 formation. I think he should stick with the formation that we've got if he comes in and play with
yeah,
that until he gets the players in to fit the formation he wants to play.
yeah. Uh, just time will tell, won't it?
Hmm.
Time will tell. If we move on to obviously the midweek card, because there's 5 games.
Yeah.
Where shall we start? I suppose best place to start is Dundee United Rangers. What are we expecting for this one? I mean, I don't think you really know. We're talking about Jekyll and Hyde Dundee United.
You don't know what Rangers are going to turn up either,
We're,
really, do you?
we're well, actually, you do. Rangers will be pretty poor,
Aye.
but they'll either find a way to win or they won't. Like, do you know it's weird, right? I look at that game and I don't think Rangers will lose, but I, I'm no more than 50% confident that they'll win. I think it will
Hmm.
either be like a 1 each or a 2-1.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go just because Rangers did draw in midweek. The weekend, I'm going to say Rangers will find a way to win 2-1. But that doesn't mean that I think at the weekend Rangers might draw again. Do you get what I mean? I just don't think there's any consistency in this team. But I do think that, weirdly, even though we have a real problem against Dundee United at home, our recent record at Tannadice has been really, really good. I don't think we've lost there in quite a while. And I'm pretty sure we had better players, obviously, last year with Dessers and Tierney and whatnot. But I think we were quite comfortable at Tannadice. And I just think it'll be a very sneaky, very unworthy 2-1 to Rangers.
You might be right. They could win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they drew again.
No, neither would I. But I do. If I'm going with a prediction, I'm going to hold to it. I'm going to say 2-1 Rangers. But that's mainly because they drew at the weekend, because they don't tend to draw a few in a row, but they'll be like 1-4. They'll get a draw. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
and
they'll
you don't know
probably
when it's going to come up. But no, I'm going to go 2-1. What are you going with?
I'll say that Rangers will probably just shade it.
Yep. Falkirk Motherwell, this is an interesting one because I think both of them were quite flat, but both of them will still be quite happy to have picked up 0-0s. Because especially Falkirk going to Ibrox, but I don't know with this one. I'm really torn because Falkirk just don't look like they're going to lose games at the minute.
No, they're doing all right.
Do you know what? I'm gonna go one each. I hate draws, but I just don't think there's a great deal between the two sides.
Motherwell.
But I do think Motherwell are probably a wee bit
Motherwell are
better,
playing the better football.
But I think the fact that Falkirk are at home just gives me that. I just think one each. Aye.
I'll go 2-1 again. I'll go 2-1 Motherwell. I think they'll just shed it because of their own decent form. So are Falkirk, but I think Motherwell will just edge it.
Okay, Hearts Kilmarnock. This one is actually straightforward to me, just because Kilmarnock just don't seem to be winning games. But then they did get that point. Like, I think if they'd lost to Dundee United, I'd have been saying 3 or 4-0 Hearts. I'd have been that confident. But the fact that they got a point, and I often think when you have a losing run and then you break it with a draw, you can find yourself going on a winning run. But I'd look at their next two games and it's Hearts and Rangers, and you go, it's not the easiest, to start a run, but runs have to start somewhere. Well, they got a draw. No, I'm going to say 2-1 Hearts. But
I'll go the draw then. Just because you're saying that, I'll go the draw then. I'll go for the draw.
But do you know what? See, at all three of those games, I would not be surprised if they were all draws. They're really close. And the next one I think is close as well. Aberdeen St Mirren, because did Aberdeen not rob St Mirren late on with like a 95th minute goal?
Yeah.
I think St Mirren will get them back. I'm going to say 2-0 St Mirren. I know it's a weird one because it's at Pittodrie, but I'm going to go 2-0 St Mirren. Because St Mirren they pick out random wins like this.
I'll go 2-1 St Mirren. I think St Mirren will win as well, because Aberdeen aren't consistent either.
And Celtic Dundee, now, I don't think it'll be as comfortable as the Celtic were against Falkirk and Kilmarnock, but I think they'll win. And I don't know if Dundee will score, because they obviously got their 3 goals. They might take a bit of confidence, isn't it? I'm torn between 3-0 and 3-1.
I was thinking 3-1 and 3-0 as well.
I'm going to say 3-1, because I just think they do have a wee bit of physicality about them in Celtic. If they give away as many corners as they did, yesterday, I think Dundee are a wee bit better than Hibs at that, and they'll maybe take advantage. But
I'll go 3-0 then. So you're going 3-1. I'll go 3-0.
But I think there'll be some interesting games, and there's always something that surprises us. And obviously we'll reconvene on. I think we're going to do it on Saturday morning.
Saturday.
Yep, before all the games. And that should be fun. We'll get our weekend predictions. Try to think what the games are, but I know Rangers are Saturday night at Kilmarnock. I think usually at home to Hearts on the Sunday.
Yep, 3 o'clock.
But I'm not well versed on the other games. I need to have a wee look. But again, do you know what? Seeing this SPL, I don't think there's a lot between all the teams right now, because I don't think that, even though Rangers, Celtic, Hearts are a good bit, you'd say quality, are a good bit more than the other ones. I don't think any of them are playing great. That I think that there's going to be like 4-0s, 5-0s. And honestly, even though I just think that every weekend I just look at the game and go, it's going to be a few tight ones. It's going to be a struggle. And no, I think it'll be an interesting weekend, just like it'll be an interesting midweek.
It's a weird season.
Certainly is. It's bad that I can't wait till January to just see what Rangers can do in the transfer market. But we need to somehow be within, 5-6 points of the top to have any point. Because if we're like 13, 14 points behind, what's the point? It's just going to be building for next season again.
Yep.
But you never know in this, because it is so crazy that if you do stay within touching distance, it can happen.
There is a chance, of course.
Yep, and as I said, I don't think that Hearts are going to fall like a cliff, but I also don't think they're going to go on 6-7 match winning runs. And I think Celtic are going to have teething problems with Nancy coming in. But you just don't know, and that Christmas period will tell us a lot, because I think you've got like 4 games in like 10 days now, and you just go, that's when you find out who's going to be in the title race.
Yeah,
but we'll leave it there, and I'll speak to you on Saturday.
Right, thanks again, mate.
Right,
cheers.
Cool. Right, bye.
Bye.